I'm becoming a miserable person, and I know this because I keep starting stories with the words, my cat. And anyone who has cat stories is just not having a good time. So my cat sits in the window all day, and I call it watching TV because, he does what I do when watching TV, looking for things to kill. Jared from the subway, that's various people. And I have a wheelchair in my apartment, and sometimes I come home and he's just been sleeping in it all day like a fucking Korean War veteran. Like I said. So you're gonna, look for a job or, God forbid, another apartment? And he says, "Woo!" And I say, "You're in America, speak English. It's a privilege to be here. It's not a right." People get political. I don't usually like to get political. But it's Calvin Coolidge asshole, right? So I support gay marriage, the gay agenda. I support the gay agenda. It's corrupt our children. And I believe in gay marriage because they reclaimed a word, and that's it's really hard to do. They reclaimed the word queer. Queer used to be an insult. People used to yell at them, and they took it back. You don't see that happen. It's hard to do. You don't see douchebags marching down the street going like, "It's okay to play lacrosse." It doesn't happen. Sometimes I wonder, how did they pick queer of all the words, that they could have picked? Like, wouldn't it have been a little bit better if they picked Gaylord? To reclaim, I was, I was a Gaylord Studies major at Vassar. But, the other thing about gay marriage is that, it's true and it works because you see people all the time who are anti-gay marriage who become pro-gay marriage. But you never see the other way. You never see people who are pro-gay marriage and be like, I was for it. But I fucking saw Lance and Steve. They're just loving each other with their eyes. God. How am I going to explain this to my children? This is the part where I derail everything. So I have cancer, and I know, you're like, I didn't tell you at first, and you guys are kind of upset, But yeah, so I have, Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is hilarious. Pretty funny. So the rest of the jokes will be cancer related, because it's not like I can just drop that and then just go back to other shit. There's cells are waging a war inside my body, but women are weird, right? They talk higher. Strange, So yeah, rest of the jokes cancer related. So I woke up one day and I had a huge lump in my armpit. So I was like, I guess I have armpit cancer. Basically, I was just hoping it wasn't breast cancer, just because I didn't want to prove all those 7th grade bullies right. It was awful looking at me. But thank God I have insurance. I have a job, a full-time job. I have insurance because I don't know how I would have been able to pay for it otherwise. Can you imagine how long I would have to spend on Craigslist looking for the one guy whose fetish I am? That one guy. $60,000 for Black Seth Rogen with cancer. His name is Gene. He lives in Denver. Very sweet man. So I went to the doctor, and the cancer doctor, I call him. And the first thing they do is they give you an AIDS test, which is fucked up because you already have cancer. You're there because you have cancer. And so And they're like, oh, well, it's for, the benefit of our employees and, people work with the blood. Like, yeah, it's blood. What were they doing with it before? Like having blood fights? Like, we tested. He doesn't have AIDS. It's fine. We can do this. So, I'm sure you guys have questions. You're going to answer questions. Some things that you have to do when you have cancer in your 20s, something you have to do is go to a sperm bank and get your shit frozen. Is the medical term for it. Because, it might not work after. So I told this to my dad, and he was like, well, your name's Mahone, you'll be okay. I was like, I don't know the science on it. I'm probably just going to go ahead and get it frozen anyway. So the sperm bank is really expensive. So I had to find like the cheapest sperm bank, and that's not really like what you think of. Like we find the most inexpensive one. It's above a daycare, which is fun. I think they they want to give you like either a warning of what's about to happen as you're walking up the stairs or something, or just make everything awkward for everyone in the building. But it's a weird place because I don't know how often you've masturbated in a tiny room while people work outside. It was only like my 5th time, so it was uncomfortable. But the thing is, you have to store up, as they say. You can't ejaculate for 3 days prior to, and that's fine if no one had told me, But if someone tells you can't ejaculate, it's terrible. It's like you start thinking about it. And like, it's off limits now. It's this forbidden fruit hanging out there. I didn't do it. I'm being married. So other things that happen. I have Hodgkin's lymphoma, which they tell you is the best type of cancer to have. They say, oh, it's the best kind of cancer, which is sort of like telling you, like, oh, it's the smallest car battery we could find strapped to your genitals. It's the very smallest car battery. It's like 20 volts. It's nothing. But so I can't drink. So doing this sober, which is strange. I've never done a comedy performance sober. I mean, you can do stand-up sober, but it's sort of like, doing stand-up sober is like, piloting a plane sober. Like, you can do it. What's going on? I had to go to a party sober. Oh, God. Don't ever do that. You have to talk to people, and they tell you things about their lives, and they expect you to still stand there and not run to the bathroom and hide for 15 minutes. I don't trust people who don't drink, who say, oh yeah, I don't drink. Like, are you really having that good of a time in life where you never have to drink? You spend all day building a pillow fort? What are you doing with your life that it's that good? So, I was hanging out with my friends. I have a lot of friends coming in town, visiting me, saying sorry about things. I don't know why. So, I was hanging out with my friend and his girlfriend, and we went out to dinner, and her sister was there. And it was this sort of cancer ambush. Because she had it too. But I didn't know. No one told me. It was going in line. Stuck up. And so they were we're having dinner, we're eating, and then so she brings it up. She's like, oh, so I heard you have cancer. I was like, oh, yeah. She's like, oh, yeah, I had it too about a year ago. And then it quickly became a cancer off, which I didn't expect. I was going in blind. So she's like, oh, yeah, so what kind do you have? And I said, oh, I have Hodgkin's lymphoma. She's like, oh, yeah, that's the kind you want to have. And she said, oh, I had this sarcoma, it's super rare. And I was like, oh, okay, whoa. It's like that now. And she's like, oh, what kind of treatment do you have? I was like, oh, I get these chemicals, and I have this antibody, this special antibody that they pump into me. And she's like, oh, that's great that you have targeted cells like that. You have targeted therapy. All right. Round 2. And so she's like, maybe you won't even lose your hair. So Last round, she was like, so how long was your chemo for? I was like, oh man, it took forever. I was there for 8 hours in that fucking little chair. She's like, oh, 8 hours, wow. Mine was 3 days. Like, all right, fine. Cancer belt is yours. Ultimate cancer champion. Thank you.